City of Miami Beach declares state of emergency and imposes curfew to control spring break crowds. City of Miami Beach imposed an 8 p.m. curfew on Saturday in the South Beach Entertainment District with closes of major causeways to control an overwhelming spring break crowd. The city decided to extend the curfew for at least a week and up to April 12th on Sunday. On Friday night, partying crowds broke into street fights, trashed restaurants, and gathered without wearing masks and social distancing. Parts of South Florida continue to be hotspots for COVID. Look, I can make these segments as short as I want to. I can make these segments as long as I want to. I could do a lot. I'm going to tell you this right now. That state, Florida, remember when Bugs Bunny was doing the thing and he sawed off Florida? We should have done that. Just because it's like, you had this before. When COVID started spreading, Florida became a hotspot. We slammed DeSantis for it. We're back here. It's been a year. Congratulations. We've now completed a full circle of bullshit. And somehow, like, somehow, it's like every week, every week, there's always some dumb shit. Like, I'm not being funny when I say this. I'm really not. I swear to God, I'm not trying to be hilarious when I say this. But like, even you gotta recognize at one point, what the fuck is going on? You had a spike for the specific thing and you want to implement curfews. Okay. If I want to take this on a non-political stance here and say, let's just look at it from a moral standpoint, like as in a politician who's governing the state of Florida or a mayor who's a mayor of whatever, blah, blah, blah. I knew it was coming because it happened already. Why would I implement a 8 p.m. curfew? Why would I do a curfew instead of just like banning gatherings altogether? You see what I mean? It's like, I want the commerce, but the spread will stop after 8 p.m. This is what New Yorkers were complaining about, and this is what fuels right-wing conspiracies about curfews and lockdowns and stuff. Curfews do not stop the spread. I'm not going to go as far as to say lockdowns don't, because the less places people have to congregate, the less likely for spread. But these kids who are going on spring break, because it's not the 27-year-olds, it's not the me's. I could care less about going to Florida. I'd rather go to Alaska for a whole... just the relevance of there not being that many people there. That's what I'm saying that for. Like, what were you expecting? What were you... You know, these people, like a lot of social media people, especially in Hollywood and Florida, you know, these people like Los Angeles, I'm sorry, not just Hollywood, but I brought Hollywood into my head because of a specific instance. You know, these people like have parties and go other places and do this and do that after curfew, right? So you want to take these large parties at bars that end at 8 p.m., last call at 8 p.m., and what are they going to do? They're going to go into the hotels. They're going to go into this and that. Now, if you want to have some regimens on, okay, hotel sizes, renting out places and having a certain amount of people, but you're not going to bust down on that because that's money. It's money to your state. That's money to businesses. And they're going to be doing so fine that they don't care if like people get COVID there. As long as they're vaccinated and protected, that's all they care about. Florida is weird. And that goes without saying because the meme is literally Florida man. But it's bothersome to me because you know what to do to curb your spread. And now you've been through a year of it, and now you're faced with the same situation. And when I say same situation, I'm not saying this like erroneously. I'm not saying, oh, there's similarities that make these. No, it's the same places. I could gather a guess to say it's the same people. Because it's only been a year, so anybody who was 17 turned 18. You was definitely in Florida one way or another. What the fuck were you expecting here? This is a bad move. For the same reason I slammed Larry Hogan on YouTube and the governor of Delaware, and YouTube took the video down because it was going against CDC and WHO recommendations. And I'm like, no, the governor is going against CDC and WHO regulations. Like, I don't know if that video is still up. I haven't checked yet. We could check that later on at the end of the stream. Hopefully it is. We thank God it is, hopefully. But that was weird. What am I reading? Because you should just close beaches. If we waited a month and a half, I'm going to give a grace period. It's really 2 months, but I'm going to give y'all a benefit of the doubt. A month and a half, let's say, right? COVID's over. Pandemic over. Enough people will be vaccinated. Joe Biden hit the goal 56 in the 50s before 100. He hit it in half the time. Trump wants credit, which we're going to cover today. Trump wants credit for the vaccine at the same time as pushing that COVID's not that bad, at the same time as saying that the Democrats are pushing the 5G chip mentality about the vaccine. Like, to have an argument with somebody who says that the vaccines are tainted with microchips at the same time as Trump should get credit for the vaccine, at the same time as Biden is riding Trump's wave of credit for the vaccine, you would lose your mind. And I was losing my mind having this conversation over and over again because I can't get to a new point until I get humanity on one great plane of understand. That's why they call me the paradigm shift, baby. It's troubling to me because people are going to see these headlines, people are going to see these things, and they're going to be like, "Oh, boo, boo." Isn't there a thing about I mean, you can effectively do that with your phone. You just put your phone down on a reader and it does the thing. Like, oh, they're gonna microchip us so they can track us and everything. And I'm like, you spend the majority of your time on the internet as a troll. They know where you are. Like, you can't hide this, man. Considering our cybersecurity, maybe I'm wrong on that case. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, no, this is bad. This is hilariously bad.
Florida, hard partying spring breakers gathered in the streets, flouting social distancing rules and not wearing masks. The city of Miami Beach imposed an 8 p.m. curfew in its busiest entertainment district as it attempts to control hordes of vacationers who have become unruly in recent days. Under the new order, police on Saturday blocked off the popular Art Deco historic district in South Beach, and all businesses within the blocked off area were forced to close. Officials also shut down the highways leading in and out of the city. Officials were scheduled to hold a meeting on Sunday to decide whether to extend the curfew measures. The crackdown comes as partiers from across the state and country have flocked to Miami Beach for its warm weather, famed party scene, and loose COVID-19 restrictions compared to other states.
So Florida's loose restrictions set up the thing that they now have to pull back on. Why did you pull back in the... Republicans so reactionary that they set the stage for the thing that they can't control. Then they have to control it. Then they blame the Democrats. The Democrats snap back and we just do the circle over and over and over again. And then you get these people arguing, oh, but in the Democratic states, oh, the COVID rate is the same as people without the restrictions and this and that and blah, 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 this and that. That's because y'all keep fleeing to whatever state you can. And then when you're done with the state, when the weather gets worse or whenever the restrictions go back up, you come right back. Remember we had the articles in the New York Post. I hate the New York Post, by the way. That's right-wing reactionary bullshit. Remember when we had those things about how there's an exodus in New York and New York is dead. New York City's entertainment is dead. This is dead, that and that. That's because the implants that were raising all the rents and gentrifying the neighborhoods. Oh, New York City is just another city that's dead now. Okay, so we'll leave because we have the money and resources to do so. Now that it's back, oh, we're coming back. Like, look, I love humanity as much as the next person, but like, if we were in a zombie apocalypse, y'all be the first motherfuckers to like hide the bite. And I hate that. I hate that the meme is like, Oh, I didn't tell people I had COVID. I low-key couldn't smell for a week. And I didn't tell nobody. Like, you really want people to die for nothing. You really want people to die for nothing. And I can't really... It's such a piece that I have to take Holy sh... Are they fighting? Yes, they are. Is that another dude? Wow. Wow. We in a pandemic and y'all squaring up. I can't. This happened twice at the same restaurant. I wonder why Santos Abbott aren't being investigated like New York and CA governors. Any prior restrictions would have been labeled racist. Any statement about this due to the mob fights would have been considered racist, and there'd be lawsuits galore. So now it's COVID focused. DeSantis couldn't have prevented this without being crucified and labeled. That's dumb. That's a shit argument. Trump supporters, they have been seeing how Biden is going and Twitter, one day, I said this when I started like streaming, or when I started making content back in March. We're going to have a talk about Twitter and its inability to distinguish between human and bot interaction. But tell the truth, it's not all about COVID-19. I mean, yeah, fights in bars is bad, but like fights in bars while a pandemic is going on is even worse. So I'm going to leave that one alone, but this is wild. Yeah. This is wild. This is wild. I'm just reading the responses. In the America I grew up believing in, no one would abide by this kind of tyranny. The only emergency here is that Florida is in the process of proving that most of the sacrifice and all of the child abuse of the last year was based on a fundamentally flawed, unproven presumption. If I have to explain to these motherfuckers one more time what science is, I swear to God, I want to speak to each individual. Like, I want to go on a world tour. And when I say world, I mean United States. And I want to ask people, how much do you know about the scientific process? Because if you got every experiment, if you got 100 in every science class from your young age all the way to college, then maybe I'll take your opinion on this. But like, if you got one science experiment wrong, does that mean the science was wrong? Or you have to try again? Do these people not understand that science takes more than one shot? Especially when it's a pandemic that changes every day? I learned that everyone who complains about spring breakers that is from Miami actually never goes to Miami Beach as a local. These tourists bring money to your city in every way. You have to accept the bad with the good. If you do not like it, move out. What is this whole... you could go on forever about this. This whole thing about if you don't like it, just move. If you don't like it, move. Why do I have to why can't I change nothing in my community? Why can't I change your rule of thought? You keep arguing that like the left just wants you to believe whatever they believe, and if it's not, it's hate speech or it's censored. You doing the same thing in reverse, just going against what I think. Oh, that's my opinion and I'm allowed to have it. Yeah, but like, does that opinion change your worldview? Like, we're going to talk about that later, but like, oh my God. I remember we had the surge in Florida and that introduced like one of the first variants. Like, yo, variants are a huge thing that the news isn't talking about. Like, yeah, Northeast Queens not wanting to assimilate into Long Island, but want to continue to say is, yeah, Northeast Queens, exactly. Talk about that nice, beautiful segment of not only College Point, but like all across the line that don't want to like be associated with Long Island, but then refuses to like be a part of the place it's geographically landed on. Look, I could spend hours talking about this. I really could. I'm trying to make these segments shorter because I understand on YouTube like people's attention spans, but it's just like we really need to talk about the idiocy of, and this is why I read Twitter threads longer than I should. It's poisonous to me. Yes, I get aggravated easier, but it does help me like understand people's mentality. Everyone who is against this, calling it some type of tyrannical approach, is literally not looking at the people involved at all. Like, you are looking at the government's assessment of the situation and their reaction to it as tyranny, but not noticing that, like, and this is why I wanted to do, I'm sorry. This is why I wanted to like take it like as a larger state affair type of content thing. I was gonna have a script and everything and bring up examples, facts, blah, blah, blah. If America wanted the pandemic to end, America would have ended the pandemic. It's people thinking it's not a big deal that caused it to be a big deal. And because they didn't think of it as a big deal before, the worse it got, the more disconnected they became from it. Again, I have 117 people I've known pass away this since the pandemic started, since January 2020 to March 2021. If I were to ascertain the position that this is not as big a deal and we shouldn't be talking about it this way, we shouldn't be dealing with it this way, then I would have to like bury everyone and move away from it all. And that's strange. And I would hope that nobody would like bury their friends and then just be like, oh, just casualty of, life. Everybody dies. Everybody got to move on. It's like, you ain't got no heart. You ain't got no, a friend of the family's just passed away around the corner. And I still feel that. And that's on top of not even being that connected to that person, on top of being connected to like the majority of the people. Like, I'm talking people I worked with passing away from COVID. Healthy, better than me, running every day. I don't even want to put people's names out like this because we start going into like personal information and stuff. But like, one of my professors, she was a marathon runner. She would run like... It was funny because I was dating a runner at the time. I was being taught by a runner for music. It's like, hello? Like, do you not have a soul? They're infringing on our like, this is why I be getting upset. They're infringing on our freedoms? How? Y'all having fights in clubs during a pandemic. Even if you thought the pandemic wasn't as bad, you're picking like, that's what I said about like humans not being able to ascertain a position about anything beyond themselves. Even this a zombie outbreak has occurred in New York City in the Manhattan district. Government officials have decided to shut down all bridges connected to New York City to avoid the zombies, not crossing the bridges and just having to fall in the water. They're infringing on our freedoms. We should be able to leave our houses. Like, yeah, you can leave your house, but a zombie gonna bite you. Oh, I can't live my life under the covers all day. I gotta take a risk. Like, no, you don't. You would get a gun and arm yourself every time you had to go outside. You're so fucking dumb. It hurts my brain. And I love the zombie example because people are like, oh, well, COVID's not as bad as a zombie bite, but it still kills people. The flu kills people. Yeah, you're getting it. Take the flu example one step further. Why don't we shut down for the flu? Because we have a vaccine, you fucking moron. Because we literally have a worst case scenario, like blanket. Okay, it won't get that bad. 60,000 people die from the flu every year. How come we don't shut down for that? We should though. Like, that's why flu deaths went down. That's why like I just need you to connect dots. And it's funny because they'll get there. I swear to God, they'll get right. Oh my God. Can I get a zoom in on this? Let me get a zoom in on this. They'll get like right there. They'll get right there. right there. They'll get right there and it stop. And then they'll just stop. Oh my God, it's a 20-minute segment. I'm still going because it's so bad. It's so bad. Where is the surge as a result of spring break? Where's the data? 86% of the vulnerable are already vaccinated. Destroying business, creating unemployment is not the solution. Miami Beach and its hysteria-based policy making strikes back. I'm going to say this for every conservative that somehow finds my content, and I will end this on this. If the data is not correlating with your worldview or your cherry picking data, that doesn't matter. Take this one moment to ask yourself a question. Is it the mandates and the lockdowns and the shutdowns and the this and that not being effective? Or is it the people who are literally vocal about not caring that are driving the effective rate of what we could be doing to mitigate the spread down? If you ask yourself this question and you immediately align with, oh, well, it can't be the people's fault because the majority I know are listening, then you're not paying attention because you had a president. And again, it's like we've been through so much. I understand it's hard to swallow these things. It's hard to understand this, and it's hard to walk through it. I get that. Like, I'm not on the side of like chastising people for not listening because the indoctrination process is set in stone. Like, we had 4 years to ramp up to this. But ask yourself this: why did the president of the former president of the United States tweet, "Liberate Michigan"? Do you not remember this? He rallied the people who supported him in certain states to not listen. Therefore, it didn't matter what the restrictions were. People were doing it anyway. Remember all those TikTok stars, those Instagram people who were getting caught throwing parties and everything? You have to remember that this has rebounding effects. It's not like the party happened, everybody got COVID, everybody went home to quarantine, and that was the end of that. These people continue to spread it. Some didn't get tested. Some didn't know they had it. There's still so many asymptomatic people walking around. There is a threat that is being vanquished by the vaccine. So whatever you say about personal freedoms, you got to ask yourself, are the people you're advocating for worth the personal freedom that you want? Because as far as I'm concerned, ain't jack shit I can't do. Like, what can I do? I can go outside. I can entertain myself. I can't go to a bar. I can go to a liquor store. I can't go to a restaurant. I can have the restaurant deliver. I can have takeout. Like, I can't see a movie. They're putting movies in your home. You want the entertainment sector to open back up. You don't care about any other business. You don't care about any other freedom because it's the same as if your neighborhood went on strike to demand something from city government. Think about it like that. That's where I can end that on. Your cities are now going on strike. And if you were to argue against the businesses themselves, well, what about my right to get a haircut? Why do you get to close? I need my haircut. There's personal barbers. There's personal hairdressers. There's people who were doing that shit during the pandemic who were spreading COVID, who got on the news for that. Your outrage is fake. And you just don't care about people. You just don't care about people. If you are on these threads saying shit like, they're infringing on our freedoms, they're doing this, blah, 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 that, you just don't care about people. Because you don't even recognize what freedoms you have. You just want to go places and be racist without being checked. Like, I can make a bunch of assumptions about you just on your position on lockdowns. Like, oh, the lockdowns don't help. The evidence suggests the CDC said this. Okay, put it to you this way, humans across the board failed. If the government wasn't doing enough, we didn't rally in the right places to do the right thing anyway. We could have took that as an opportunity. All right, everybody go on strike till the government pay us $15 a month. $15 an hour, sorry. Oof. $15 a month. Here come the capitalist shells. Like, we didn't do anything. We tried to gather together when it was a good cause, Black Lives Matter. They knocked that down. $15 minimum wage, they knocked that down. the rise of fascism in America. Somehow that became a debate about left versus right and not, the big orange Cheeto and the neo-Nazis and the Proud Boys and the like openly supportive white supremacists coming back to life. Get fucked.